The
pain is in
spaceship
my neck.
floated silently
It's
above the dead
radiating down
planet,
my arm.
its metal skin scratched
Hold
and
still.
worn,
The
dim
scanner
lights
needs a
flickering
clear
along
reading.
its hull. Inside, the corridors were dark and empty, only the sound from the ship's engine echoing in the silence. The human explorer stepped carefully, his boots making soft thuds against the metal floor, his eyes scanning every shadow. He had heard stories of this abandoned vessel, whispers about strange experiments and things that should not exist. But curiosity drove him forward, a mix of bravery and foolishness keeping him moving. As he turned a corner, he saw her, a young alien girl, frozen in place, her wide eyes staring at him with fear. Her skin shimmered in soft blue light, and her small body trembled as if she expected him to attack. The human crouched slightly, showing he meant no harm. But then he did something unusual. He snapped his fingers, then his own bones with soft cracks, a habit he had to relieve tension after long missions. The cracks echoed loudly in the corridor, and the alien girl flinched violently, her face twisting into horror. He laughed softly, a sound meant to comfort, but she only stepped back, pressing herself against the wall. Something about his laugh, about the way his joints cracked, seemed alien to her, frightening and strange. The human realized communication would be difficult. She could not understand his words. He would have to use gestures. He raised his hand slowly, showing he wanted peace, moving his fingers gently. She watched him, unsure, her body tense like a predator ready to flee. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the shadows in the corridor grew longer, moving strangely. The human froze, sensing movement, his heart beating faster. The hum of the ship now sounding like whispers. A metallic clang echoed from deep within the ship, and the alien girl let out a small, frightened cry. He took a step forward, trying to calm her, speaking softly, though he knew she could not understand. The sound of his voice seemed to reach her in some way, because she tilted her head, curiosity mixing with fear. The corridor ended at a wide chamber, filled with strange machinery and glowing containers. Some contained alien specimens, others had fluids of unknown color, swirling like liquid fire. The human's eyes widened, realizing the ship had not been abandoned randomly. Experiments, perhaps cruel or horrifying, had been done here, and the alien girl might be a survivor. Her small hands trembled, pointing to one container, trying to warn him. He walked slowly toward it, noticing how her fear was not just about him. She seemed terrified of something else, something unseen, lurking just beyond their view. The human's instincts screamed caution. He moved quietly, keeping an eye on every shadow. He made a soft cracking sound with his knuckles, a small, nervous gesture, hoping it would ease tension. The alien girl gasped at the noise, taking a step back, but did not run, her curiosity holding her in place. Then the lights went out completely, leaving them in darkness, only the glow from the containers faintly illuminating the room. A cold wind swept through the chamber. Though the ship had no windows open, the human felt a shiver crawl down his spine. Realizing they were not alone, the alien girl pressed herself closer to him, her fear now mixing with trust. He reached out slowly, touching her shoulder lightly, careful not to scare her. Suddenly, a shadow moved behind one of the containers, a tall, twisted figure with long limbs. The alien girl shrieked, and the human instinctively pulled her behind him. He cracked his neck softly, preparing himself for whatever was coming. The figure stepped closer, silent but heavy, its presence filling the room with dread. The human's mind raced, thinking of how to protect the girl and survive the unknown threat. A soft laugh escaped his lips, nervous and tense, the sound strangely human in the eerie chamber. The alien girl froze, staring at him, her eyes wide, her small body trembling. The human realized that this first encounter would decide everything, trust and fear mingling in the same moment. He whispered words she could not understand, but his tone was calm, comforting. The shadow paused, as if sensing the human's confidence, then retreated slowly into darkness, leaving the corridor empty again. The human let out a soft breath, the tension leaving his body in small waves. The alien girl looked at him, still horrified, still curious, but no longer running. He knew this was only the beginning, the first step in a journey filled with danger, mystery, and connection. The ship held secrets waiting to be uncovered, and together they would face whatever came next. He laughed softly again, cracking his knuckles, and she flinched slightly, the echo of fear and curiosity hanging in the air. The shadow had vanished, but the air remained thick with tension. The human took a careful step forward, keeping the alien girl close, her small hand brushing against his sleeve. She trembled slightly, yet did not pull away. Her curiosity stronger than her fear. The corridor stretched ahead, twisting and turning like a maze, each corner darker than the last. Strange symbols were etched into the walls, glowing faintly in blue and green. They pulsed like heartbeat lights, casting eerie patterns. Across the floor, the human gestured to the alien girl, pointing at the symbols, trying to show he meant no harm. Her eyes flickered toward the markings, then back at him, unsure whether to trust or flee. Suddenly, the faint hum of the ship changed pitch, rising and falling like a living creature, metal groaned somewhere above them, and a loose panel clattered to the floor. The girl gasped, and instinctively, the human snapped his fingers, his joints cracking softly. The sound echoed through the corridor, and she recoiled, horror and confusion crossing her face. He crouched down slightly, smiling softly, showing it was only a habit, not a threat. She tilted her head, mimicking his cautious movements, a small sign that trust might begin. They moved forward together, each step measured, aware that the ship held more than empty corridors. Then came the first real warning, a distant metallic scraping, slow and deliberate. It sounded like claws dragging across metal, echoing in the halls. The human froze, listening, his body tense and ready. He whispered softly, though she could not understand, "Stay close." The girl did not speak, but she tightened her grip on his sleeve. They reached a junction, 3 paths leading into darkness. He chose the middle one, guided by instinct more than reason. The hum of the ship grew louder, vibrating through the walls, almost as if it were alive. A faint red light appeared at the end of the corridor, pulsing slowly. The human approached cautiously, stepping over debris and strange wires. The alien girl followed, her eyes wide, scanning every shadow, every corner. Then, without warning, a small robotic drone emerged from the ceiling, its single red eye focusing on them. It made a clicking sound, scanning their bodies, and the human immediately raised his hands, showing no threat. He moved slowly, cracking his knuckles softly. The sound, strange and unnerving in the quiet corridor. The drone paused, then suddenly shot a small energy pulse across the floor, forcing them to jump aside. The human pulled the alien girl with him, rolling to safety just in time. The pulse left scorch marks on the metal floor, glowing faintly. The alien girl's eyes widened, fear mixed with awe. She hissed a soft sound, something like a warning, pointing toward another corridor. He nodded, understanding that she wanted to lead, and he allowed her to take the lead. Her small form moved with agility and speed, navigating the ship's twisted corridors. He followed, amazed at her understanding of the environment, as if she had lived here all her life. They turned a corner and found a chamber, partially destroyed, walls scorched and equipment broken. Inside were strange containers, some empty, some still glowing with unknown energy. The human stepped carefully, noticing strange symbols etched around the edges, like warnings. The alien girl stopped suddenly, freezing, her eyes wide and fixed on a large container in the corner. Inside, a horrifying creature floated suspended in a glowing fluid, its body twisted and unnatural. Its limbs were long and thin, its eyes closed, but the human could feel its potential threat. He glanced at the alien girl, and she pressed a small hand against his chest, warning him to be quiet. They remained still, listening to the creaks of the ship and the hum of the strange energy. Then a low, wet sound came from the shadows behind them, something moving slowly but deliberately. The human stepped forward slightly, cracking his neck softly, the motion instinctive. The alien girl gasped at the sound, pressing herself closer to him. Suddenly, the creature in the container twitched violently, as if sensing their presence. A faint green light began to glow from his eyes, and the human realized it might awaken. He held up his hand, signaling to the girl to stay calm, though he felt his own heart racing. A new sound filled the room, a metallic grinding as something large moved just beyond the doorway. The alien girl let out a small scream, and instinctively, the human pulled her behind a large crate. They crouched in silence, listening as something enormous passed by, heavy steps shaking the floor. He whispered, "We need to move," and she nodded silently, eyes flicking nervously toward the door. The moment they stepped out, The floor panel shifted, revealing a hidden stairway, dark and narrow. The human motioned for her to follow, and she did without hesitation, trust slowly forming between them. As they descended, the hum of the ship changed again, now almost like voices, whispers in a language neither could understand. The air grew colder, and faint shadows seemed to move along the walls, twisting unnaturally. The human glanced at the girl, and she returned a look of determination mixed with fear. They both knew that whatever awaited them below would not be friendly, but together they would face it, each relying on the other to survive. And as they disappeared into the darkness of the stairway, the whispers grew louder, more urgent, leaving the corridor empty and silent. The stairway descended into darkness, narrow and steep, metal railings rattling with every step. The human led the alien girl carefully, each footstep measured, every shadow watched. The air grew colder the further they went, their breaths visible in faint clouds. A distant rumble echoed to the walls, low and heavy, vibrating through their bones. The alien girl clutched the sleeve, her small fingers trembling, yet she did not turn back. Something was following them, moving silently but with weight, making the ground vibrate slightly. As they reached the bottom, the human crouched behind a broken console, scanning the area. The chamber below was enormous, filled with old machinery, broken pipes, and pools of strange liquid. Shadows stretched along the walls, moving unnaturally, flicker like something alive. A soft, wet sound came from the far corner, and the alien girl froze, eyes wide. He could feel her fear, but also her curiosity, and he whispered softly, "Stay close." She nodded, holding his hand tightly, ready to follow wherever he led. Suddenly, a metallic screech echoed from the ceiling above, and a large drone dropped, its single red eye glowing. It moved quickly, scanning the room, its claws scraping the metal floor. The human grabbed a nearby pipe, swinging it just in time to deflect the drone's claw. The alien girl gasped, and instinctively, he pulled her behind a stack of crates. The drone paused, clicking and scanning, then moved toward another path, giving them a brief moment of safety. The human cracked his knuckles, softly, the sound strange and tense in the quiet. He motioned for the girl to follow, and they ran through a narrow corridor, twisting and turning. The floor beneath them groaned and vibrated, pieces of metal falling as they passed. Then came a louder sound, like metal ripping, and the human glanced back to see a massive creature emerging from the shadows. Its limbs were long and thin, its eyes glowing faintly, its movements silent yet deadly. The alien girl screamed softly, but he covered her mouth gently, signaling her to stay quiet. They darted into a side passage, the creature following, moving faster than any human could. The passage ended at a collapsed stairwell, the bottom hidden in darkness. The human hesitated, then grabbed a loose pipe, prying open a small gap in the debris. The alien girl watched him, her eyes wide, and for a moment, she seemed to understand the danger fully. With a sudden push, they slid down a narrow chute, landing in a dark room with a soft thud. He winced at the impact, but immediately scanned the room, noticing faint glowing lines on the walls. The alien girl got up quickly, brushing herself off, her fear mingling with determination. The room was not empty, faint whispers echoing around them, strange shadows moving along the walls. He motioned for her to stay low, moving silently toward a console at the far end. The console flickered to life with a faint blue glow, showing maps and strange alien symbols. The human realized it might show a way out, but the shadows were growing, creeping closer. A sudden crash behind them made both jump. The creature had found them again. He grabbed a loose pipe, swinging it to block the first strike, the creature recoiling but not stopping. The alien girl mimicked his movements, picking up a broken piece of metal. Together, they fought back to back, blocking strikes and dodging claws. The human laughed softly, cracking his knuckles and bones, the sound oddly comforting. The creature hissed, retreating slightly, confused by their unusual resistance. They saw a door at the far end, glowing faintly, a possible escape. The human grabbed the alien girl's hand, running with everything they had. The corridor narrowed, forcing them to move in single file. The creature followed, faster than before, shadows twisting and stretching along the walls. They reached a dead end, the door locked, but the human noticed a small panel beside it. He pried open, exposing wires and blinking lights. The alien girl watched, fascinated, and he motioned for her help. She mimicked his gestures, touching the wires carefully, and with a soft click, the door slid open. They ran through the opening into another chamber, dark and filled with strange machinery. The hum of the ship was louder here, almost like it was alive, watching them. Suddenly, a metal arm shot from the wall, swinging toward them, and the human ducked. The alien girl stumbled slightly, but he caught her just in time. They sprinted across the room, weaving through obstacles, their breaths loud and fast. Every step felt dangerous, the shadows closing in, the ship itself seeming to resist their escape. Finally, they reached a narrow stairway leading upward, a faint light shining from above. The human motioned for her to climb first, watching every shadow. They could hear the creature below, scraping and hissing, relentless in pursuit. With one final leap, they emerged into another corridor, brighter than before. The human laughed softly, cracking his joints again, the alien girl staring in horror and awe. They had survived the first chase, but both knew it was only the beginning. The ship, holding more dangers than they could imagine. As they paused to catch their breath, the human glanced at the alien girl. Her eyes reflected a mix of fear and admiration. Trust beginning to form. He smiled softly, though the shadows around them whispered threats. A faint vibration ran through the floor, something massive moving in the ship's depths. The human and the alien girl exchanged a look, silent understanding passing between them. Whatever came next, they would face it together, and the chase was far from over. The human and the alien girl moved cautiously down the brighter corridor, the hum of the ship still vibrating through the walls. The air was heavy, carrying a metallic scent mixed with something sweet and strange, almost like chemicals. The alien girl glanced around nervously, her eyes flicking from shadow to shadow. The human noticed the way she pointed toward a door ahead, small hands trembling but determined. He approached slowly, motioning for her to stay back. The door was large, reinforced with metal plating and alien symbols etched across its surface. A faint glow escaped from the edges, pulsating like a heartbeat. He pressed his hand against the cold metal, feeling faint vibrations under his palm. The alien girl let out a soft hiss, warning him not to open it. But curiosity burned within him, and slowly he pushed the door open. Inside was a lab half destroyed, flickering lights casting strange shadows across broken tables. Machines whirred and beeped intermittently, some still running despite years of neglect. Containers lined the walls, some holding fluids that shimmered like liquid glass. Inside, shapes floated, twisted and unnatural, limbs bending in impossible ways. The human's eyes widened, realizing the ship had been a laboratory for alien experiments. Some specimens looked humanoid, others like creatures that should not exist. The alien girl gasped, pointing toward one container near the far wall. He followed her gesture and saw a small creature, eyes open and staring directly at them. It trembled, tiny claws reaching outward, and he felt a pang of recognition and pity. Then the hum of the ship changed, rising in pitch, almost like a warning. The human glanced around, realizing they were not alone. From a shadowed corner, a thin, dark figure moved, tall and skeletal, its limbs unnaturally long. It stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly red, and the alien girl shrieked. The human placed himself in front of her, cracking his knuckles softly, ready for anything. The creature hissed, tilting its head, studying them as if deciding whether to attack. Suddenly, a screen flickered to life on one of the tables, displaying strange alien symbols. The human moved closer, scanning the images, trying to make sense of strange data. He realized the lab had been experimenting on humans and aliens alike. Hybrid creatures, genetic experiments, twisted forms of life meant to survive in extreme conditions. The alien girl pressed herself against his side. Shaking, he whispered softly, "We have to understand this. Then get out." She nodded, small hands, clutching his sleeve, and he guided her toward a small terminal. As he worked, a soft scratching sound echoed from behind, metal scraping against metal. The skeletal creature moved closer, circling the room like a predator. The alien girl's small hand gripped his sleeve, eyes wide, fear mixing with determination. He cracked his neck softly, preparing for the worst. Suddenly, the creature lunged, fast and silent. The human grabbed a metal rod, Swinging it with all his strength, it struck the creature, but only slowed it, not stopping it. He turned toward the terminal, fingers flying across the controls. The alien girl pointed at a small lever, mimicking his movements. Together, they managed to activate a hidden compartment, revealing records and data logs. The humans skimmed through them, eyes widening. The experiments were meant to create super soldiers, hybrid life forms, capable of surviving anywhere. Some logs mentioned humans captured from colonies. Others described alien subjects used for testing. The alien girl's gaze fell on a log, her eyes wide with recognition, trembling as if she understood too well. A sudden loud crash echoed from the lab's entrance, debris falling and metal screeching. The creature had returned, more determined this time. The human grabbed the alien girl. Moving toward a side door, they ran past overturned tables, broken machines sparking dangerously. The creature followed, hissing and snarling, its long limbs stretching unnaturally. The human laughed softly, cracking his bones, the sound strangely comforting and terrifying at once. The alien girl flinched but followed, moving faster, guided by his lead. They reached another chamber, smaller and darker, filled with strange pods and containment fields. Some were broken, others glowing faintly with unknown energy. The alien girl pointed toward one pod in particular, her fingers trembling. Inside was a small creature, almost identical to her species, but injured, twisted by experiments. The human motioned toward a doorway at the far end of the corridor, a faint glow suggesting safety. They moved cautiously, every step tense, shadows twisting and shifting around them. The ship groaned and hummed, almost alive, as if aware of their movements. The alien girl glanced at him, small hands gripping his sleeve, ready to face whatever came next. He nodded reassuringly, cracking his knuckles one last time. Together, they stepped into the doorway, leaving the horrors of previous chamber behind. But both knew the ship held darker secrets, and the next encounter would test their trust and courage like never before. The human and the alien girl stepped cautiously into the next chamber. The room was enormous, filled with strange machinery, glowing alien devices, and pools of unknown liquid. The hum of the ship was louder here, vibrating to the walls like a heartbeat. The alien girl glanced around nervously, pressing herself close to him. He placed a hand on her shoulder, cracking his knuckles softly, preparing for whatever lay ahead. At the center of the room stood a massive creature, taller than any human, its body twisted and unnatural. Its glowing eyes scanned the chamber, locking on them with the predator's focus. The human's heart pounded, but he stepped forward, blocking the alien girl from the creature. She gasped, her small hands gripping his sleeve, fear and trust mingling in her gaze. He whispered softly, "Stay close. Follow my lead." The creature hissed, its limbs moving with unnatural speed, stretching and twisting in ways that made the human shiver. Suddenly, the lights flickered and the machinery came alive, moving as if controlled by the creature. Pipes released bursts of steam, and floors shifted, creating obstacles and hazards. The human grabbed a long metal rod, swinging it to deflect a claw that shot toward them. The alien girl mimicked him, using a broken piece of metal to block another strike. Together, they moved back to back, dodging attacks and using the environment to their advantage. He laughed softly, cracking his bones and fingers, a strange human resilience shining through the fear. The creature roared, a sound that shook the room, and lunged with incredible speed. The human jumped to the side, pulling the alien girl with him, narrowly avoiding the attack. Sparks flew from broken machines, and a pipe burst, sending a jet of steam across the floor. They ran across the chamber, weaving through machinery and obstacles. The alien girl pointed to a raised platform, and he nodded, understanding it might be their only chance. They climbed the platform just as the creature slammed the floor beneath them. Metal twisted and groaned, debris falling dangerously close. The human swung his rod again, striking the creature's limb, forcing it back slightly. The alien girl followed, her small body agile, striking when she could, her trust in him growing. The creature hissed, retreating slightly but not defeated, its glowing eyes burning with anger. The human laughed softly again, cracking his bones, the sound eerie yet defiant. Suddenly, the floor beneath the creature shifted, revealing a pit filled with unknown energy. It stumbled, claws scraping the edges as it tried to maintain balance. The human grabbed the alien girl, moving toward a console that controlled the room's machinery. He gestured for her to help, showing simple movements. She pressed buttons and flipped levers, activating beams and platforms that shifted. The creature roared again, its movements frantic as it struggled to maintain balance. With a final push, the creature lost its footing. Teetering over the edge of the pit, the human and the alien girl jumped back just in time, the creature falling into the glowing energy below. Sparks and strange lights filled the chamber as it disappeared. Screaming in fury and pain, the alien girl let out a small laugh of relief, her small body trembling with adrenaline. The human smiled, cracking his bones one last time, his laughter soft and tired. They stood together, catching their breath, the chamber quiet except for the hum of the ship. He glanced at her, eyes meeting hers, a silent acknowledgement of trust and courage. She returned a small smile, her fear mingling with admiration and relief. The room was filled with remnants of creature and damaged machinery. The human stepped toward the console, pulling up maps and controls. He realized the ship still held secrets, but the immediate threat was gone. The alien girl moved closer, her hand brushing his sleeve, silently showing she trusted him completely. Then a soft vibration ran through the floor, faint but noticeable. The human froze, scanning the room, tension returning. The alien girl's eyes widened, and she pressed herself against him. He cracked his knuckles softly, readying himself, though he felt a strange calm from the shadows. Smaller creatures began to emerge, less terrifying but numerous. He motioned to the alien girl to stay close, and together they prepared to fight or flee. The creatures swarmed, but the human and alien girl moved as one, dodging, striking, using every trick learned. Sparks flew, metal clanged, and the room filled with chaos. The human laughed softly through the fight, cracking his bones as he moved. The alien girl followed, mirroring his movements, her trust now complete. Step by step, they pushed the creatures back to a containment chamber, finally, with a combination of clever moves and courage. The smaller creatures were trapped. The human and alien girl stood together, exhausted but victorious. They looked at each other, relief and amazement in their eyes. The human whispered softly, "We survived this, but there is more ahead." The alien girl nodded, small hand brushing his sleeve once again. They moved toward the next corridor, ready to uncover the remaining secrets of the ship. The hum of the ship settled into an uneasy silence, shadows still shifting slightly, but together they were stronger, facing the horrors of the abandoned vessel side by side. And as they disappeared into the darkness, the ship seemed to watch them, alive and waiting. The human and the alien girl stepped cautiously into the final corridor. The air was quieter here, the hum of the ship low and steady. The walls were lined with strange alien markings that glowed faintly. The alien girl's small hand brushed against his sleeve, a silent sign of trust. He smiled softly, cracking his bones one last time. The sound comforting and strange together, they moved forward, aware that the ship still held secrets, but confident they could face them. The corridor ended at a large observation deck, overlooking the dark expanse of space. Stars twinkled in the distance, tiny and beautiful against the endless void. The human paused, letting the alien girl take in view. She pressed her small hands against the glass, mesmerized by the sight for a moment. There was silence, a calm after the storm. He whispered softly, "We made it this far together." And she nodded, eyes wide. It was a quiet, fragile moment of relief, but they both knew the peace could not last long. Suddenly, the deck trembled, the hum of the ship rising sharply. The alien girl's eyes widened, fear returning. The human grabbed her hand, moving toward the nearest door. The ship seemed alive, walls shifting slightly, shadows twisting unnaturally. A soft green glow appeared behind them, pulsing with energy. He glanced back and froze, seeing a massive, twisted creature forming in the shadows. It was unlike anything they had faced before, a combination of the main creature and strange alien technology. The alien girl pressed herself against him, trembling but ready. He whispered softly, "We can do this," cracking his knuckles as he prepared to fight. The creature lunged with incredible speed, its claws slicing through the air. The human grabbed a metal beam, striking at the creature with all his strength. The alien girl followed, using a piece of broken machinery as a weapon. Together, they dodged, struck, and pushed the creature back toward a containment field. Sparks flew metal, twisted, and the deck shook violently, but they moved as one, a perfect team. Finally, the creature stumbled, caught in the energy field. Struggling but unable to escape, the human and the alien girl stepped back, exhausted but victorious. He laughed softly, cracking his bones again, a mix of relief and nervous energy. The alien girl stared at him, eyes wide, her own small laugh escaping, nervous but genuine. For a moment, it felt like the ship had quieted, the shadows receding. The human whispered, "We survived everything together," and she nodded, holding his sleeve tightly. But then a soft vibration ran to the floor, faint at first, then stronger. The alien girl gasped, her small body pressing closer to him. The human scanned the room, sensing movement. Tension rising again. A faint green glow appeared at the far end of the deck, pulsing rhythmically. He stepped forward cautiously, pulling the alien girl with him. The glow grew brighter, revealing a small console partially embedded in the wall. Strange symbols flashed across the screen, messages they could not understand. The human tapped a button cautiously. The console coming to life. A holographic figure appeared, flickering and distorted, a projection of an alien being. It spoke in a language they could not understand, but the tone was urgent, almost pleading. The alien girl stepped closer, eyes wide, recognizing something familiar in projection. The human watched, realizing the ship had been trying to communicate. It was not just a vessel of horror, but a warning, a record of experiments, a record of those who came before. Suddenly, a door at the far end of the deck hissed open, revealing a narrow escape pod. The human motioned for the alien girl to enter first, and she nodded. Climbing in quickly, he followed, securing the pod and activating controls. The pod shook violently as the ship's systems faltered, alarms blaring softly. They launched into space, the observation deck disappearing behind them. The human let out a soft laugh, cracking his bones again. Relief mingled with awe. The alien girl stared at him, eyes wide, her small hand brushing his sleeve. A silent bond formed forever. The pod floated silently among the stars, the ship shrinking into the distance. The alien girl leaned against the console, exhausted but safe. The human checked the pod systems, then looked out at the endless void. For a moment, peace returned, the horrors of the ship behind them. But then a faint signal appeared on the pod's display, pulsing softly. It was the same green glow from the ship, a message or a warning. The human glanced at the alien girl, who stiffened, recognizing the glow. A faint smile appeared on his lips, cracking his bones softly. "Looks like our adventure isn't over." The alien girl's eyes widened, a mixture of fear and determination. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and the pod moved forward together. They would face whatever came next, stronger and braver than before. The ship faded into the distance, but its secrets, its horrors, and its messages would follow them forever. And as they disappeared into the void, a final whisper echoed through space. Faint but clear, the human laughed softly, cracking his bones once more, and the alien girl shivered, horrified yet trusting.